Hey guys, Andy here. So I noticed the Realme X2 Pro because one of the big YouTubers, I think it was Mr. Who's the Boss, did a video on it that I watched, and I think he commented along the lines of it was the sort of like the poker phone, in that it was just, wow, check these specs out, and obviously amazing price. I thought, wow, I need to take a look at that. So I ordered one. I actually ordered it from Wonder Mobile. I've used them a couple of times now. They've been pretty good. It cost me £400. Cost me £7 for the quicker delivery, and it came in 6 days in total, 4 working days, so it was pretty good. But yeah, I was just really interested. Was it really that good? Well, let's find out. Take a quick second to say, I get a lot of requests like, check out this phone, review that phone. I've got no patrons, I've got just what comes in from YouTube, which isn't a lot of money. So I would just say, please go and look at patreon.com/AAUK or buymeacoffee.com/AAUK and just consider sending a few pounds my way, because it will help me to buy more devices to do videos for you. Anyway, now let's move on to the Realme X2 Pro and talk about the design. So it is quite a nice looking phone, I think. This is what's called Lunar White. It also comes in Neptune Blue. Apparently there's also a red Master Edition and a grey Master Edition. But I think it's quite a nice looking phone. It's got a bit of branding obviously on the back, but I'm fine with that, that's okay. It does look quite nice. It's 199 grams and it is 8.7 millimeters thick. And I would say generally it feels pretty good in the hand. There is no rear-mounted fingerprint sensor, as is now almost the norm. There's an in-screen fingerprint sensor, which is really very quick, to be fair. I've done a head-to-head against the K20 Pro. I mean, they're both about the same, basically. Oops. The only thing is, if you obviously there you saw there, you can wait for the indicator to appear before you put your thumb on to know that you're getting in the right place. It's also got a very fast face unlock. It's not all that easy for me to show you, so I'm going to turn it on. It's kind of instant. I was finding that a lot of the time I didn't need to, or I couldn't use my thumbprint to unlock the device because it just unlocked already. So power button on the right, volume rocker on the left. It does have stereo speakers, Dolby Atmos stereo speakers in fact. They're quite loud. They scored 90.3 in my test. I think there's a little bit of distortion at full volume though, but at the same time, it didn't really bother me. I use it to listen to podcasts in the morning. I'll just turn it on, turn the podcast on, leave it on the counter while I'm making breakfast, including boiling the boiling the kettle test, and I could hear the podcast all the way through, all the different noises I'm making. Even with the tap on, sometimes now when I'm washing up, I can't hear a phone, but it was loud enough that I could hear that, so speaker's pretty good. I should also point out, I suppose, that this is as good a time as any, you do get a case with it in the box, as is the way with a lot of the Chinese phones. They send cases with them. So the actual hardware, it's got a Snapdragon 85 Plus chipset, octa-core CPU, Adreno 640 GPU. This one has 128 gig of storage and 8 gig of RAM. There is also dual SIM, but there's no micro SD card slot. It does also have a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, which I know some people still very much clinging on to their headphone jacks. The screen itself is Super AMOLED 6.5 inches, 2400 by 1080. That's a 20:9 ratio, so it's quite a tall device. With that means 402 pixels per inch, which is pretty good. It's a 90 Hz screen. Now, unfortunately, I'm in that camp where I don't think I can particularly tell the difference of a 90 Hz screen. I don't know. I mean, it's very nice and smooth, as you would expect. HDR10 Plus, I don't exactly know what that means, but the colours do certainly look very good. It is a nice screen. It does a really good job. I don't have any issues with the viewing angles. The brightness was good. It got up to 760 or so lumens on my test, which is the upper end of things, which means it's very good, very bright screen. There is a teardrop notch in the top. I have no issue with teardrop notches. It doesn't really impede. It doesn't. So if you're watching a YouTube video, that doesn't really impede on your video. So I'm fine with that. The one thing I think is a bit of an oversight in my opinion, there's no always on display. I love an always on display. It's an AMOLED screen, why would you not? It's an AMOLED screen with a very good battery, spoiler to future segments of the video. Why would you not have an always on screen? So we've got double tap to wake and things like that. And I do actually really like the lock screens. This is, they sort of give you a bit of information about whatever the image is. The image changes each time. Adventure spots. This place, and I can tap more and it actually loads in the information about that lock screen, which I think is quite cool actually. So the cameras. We have a 64 megapixel f1.8 main camera. Now I tried taking some pictures with the 64. You have to turn it's like an actual mode. So a lot of cameras, lenses I suppose, have more megapixels than the photo it produces, if that makes sense. So you might have a, I don't know, 24 megapixel lens, but it only produces, well, normally I think they quad up, so that'd be a 6 megapixel image perhaps, because it will use 4 of the pixels to create 1 pixel. I couldn't explain the exact reasoning that that's done, but I think it enables to give a better image generally. So you have to turn on the 64 megapixel mode effectively. To be fair, it does make a bit of a difference. I think it's more noticeable if we zoom right on in, you can see it is a clearer, sharper image, but you have to remember to turn it on manually to get that. Then there's a 13 megapixel 2x zoom. That's only f2.5. It's not great, but on the zoom lenses it often isn't as quick. You can zoom into up to 20 times. Interesting. They weren't fantastic images, I wouldn't have said, but still an interesting option to have, I thought. Then there is an ultra-wide 8 megapixel f2.2, which produced, I mean, good results. I quite like, there seemed to be fairly, I want to say standard, fairly uniform results across the different lenses, with the main lens generally giving good images. We'll come to that in a second, I suppose. The front-facing camera is 16 megapixel f2.0. Now, the app's okay. It's sort of reasonably basic. That's fine. You've got video, photo, and portrait, but you can tap on there to get the more options, like the Ultra, like Nightscape. I would point out at this point, it does have Expert, which lets you then adjust sort of everything that you might want, which I think is quite cool. I don't really know why more phone apps don't have that option. I get that they want, so Google want you to be able to just point your camera at something and take a picture, and it will deal with everything else. That's fine, I get that, and I like that, but give us the option that we can do these things ourselves, surely. Which they've done, so that's a plus to them, thank you very much. It's also got this whole sort of intelligent camera where you point it at things and it works out what it's being pointed at, which is quite clever. And it can then adjust settings based on what it's being pointed at. So yeah, why not? That's pretty good as well. So on the main camera, some of the photos, they seemed a bit oversaturated. The colors seemed a bit too blown out, like these flowers. But other ones, I thought they looked really good. So I was a bit torn. I think generally they're good photos. The wide angle, as I've mentioned already, generally looked good too. There wasn't too much of a fisheye effect. Low light seemed, I don't know, somewhere between okay, maybe even good, I think. Nightscape gives you a bit more clarity, but it's a long way from the sort of wow factor you get from something like the Pixel's Night Sight. So photos generally, yeah, pretty good actually. For a mid-range phone where you're often expecting the camera to be one of the sort of weak points and areas they've sort of cheaped out on basically, it seemed pretty good. The video was generally quite smooth, and I would say generally looked pretty good. Again, you wouldn't necessarily expect it from a mid-range phone, Low light, I mean, so I posted up a video of some samples and everyone seemed to comment on the low light, how it looked pretty good. And that's something I was thinking too. So yeah, low light was pretty good. You can go up to 4K 60 frames per second too, should you wish. So all around, yeah, the cameras, they seem pretty good. So everything so far going quite well, I think. But we're now moving on to software. And software is where these devices do my nut, quite frankly. Why do they've Android 10 is a beautiful, smooth, well-featured operating system. Even Android 9, I mean, to my opinion, you might think is biased, but Android for a few years now has been that. Why these people take that and kind of stomp all over it, I don't get. So it's a great device thus far, but the software just... So let's go into it, I suppose. So we are on Android version 9, if you can see that there. ColorOS version 6.1. If you want a confirmation of the specs look of the device, there they are. The security patch is October, which isn't too bad. We're November the 10th at time of recording, so we're a month behind. I would say that's acceptable. That's reasonable. I've read there would be no Android 10 though until Q2 of 2020. So we're talking 5 more months at the earliest, really. That's when Q2 starts. So it could be 5 to 8 months, we don't know. That's not great. So some of the things you can do, you can force dark mode. So I'm in dark mode at the minute. So things are obviously looking darker. But it is it's like a faux dark mode. So it projects that onto other apps where basically just takes something that's a light color and just makes it a dark color, which looks okay in a lot of cases. But there are some apps where that doesn't quite work because the text perhaps doesn't now work with the dark background. But generally the dark mode, if that's something that you're after, is pretty good. Adreno seems to replace Google Assistant. I should point out, sorry, I am on, by the way, the global version imported from Hong Kong. I got excited and ordered, like, as soon as I saw about this device, and then a few days later, someone said, it is coming to the UK very soon. Oh, I'd already ordered it at this point. So I don't know how much will change when we get a European version. And if someone's watching this video that has the European version, you can probably answer some of these questions, and I'd really appreciate if you did. But we've got Adreno rather than Google Assistant, and I don't think there's any way to actually replace it. So if I hold down the power button for, I think it's a half a second, turn on and learn about Adreno. And I've not even bothered, if I'm honest. I don't really want to. Maybe I should have for you guys, sorry. But I am a Google Assistant kind of guy. Will it rain tomorrow? And I did find a lot of things like that. So I suppose that is the search rather than, so if I come into, I don't want to trigger it. If I say the magic word, hey Google, will it rain tomorrow? I saw that phone.
Rain in Barnet tomorrow from 4 to 9 a.m.
So, but it does work. If you go into the Google app, you can then use Hey G. But yeah, give us the option to change it. Notifications seem to be off by default. So you can see right now I've got various notifications up there. I hope you can see if the camera focuses in the notification bar, and I can see them all as we scroll through. That's all fine. But it wasn't like that initially. That was generally quite empty. And then I thought I'd turn them on, and actually I was just getting a little dot saying like 2, because I had 2 notifications. I did work, it wasn't overly complicated. I did work out how you set it up as you would expect a normal phone to do. But having said that, most apps you install default to not having access to notifications, and you have to go in. So I've been through all my apps turning notifications on. That is actually quite a lot of work. I don't know why you would, by default, stop your apps from letting them notify you. To me, that's one of the big things of a phone. It's not even, you could say a phone is for ringing people. For me, it's getting notifications of things that are going on. That's one of it, and it sort of tries to stop that from happening. I don't get that. Why would you do that? So yeah, it was a bit of work just to get notifications working. there's quite aggressive RAM management from the very beginning, sort of default. So again, when you install things, take the time to go in and check. And it seems to be there's a couple of different places where you can say, no, don't battery manage this app. So for example, I went for a run. I think I ran about 3.5 miles, and after about 1.5 miles, it just shut down the app that was recording my run. And this app had a persistent notification as well in the notification bar, telling me I was running, etc., etc. Didn't matter. Poof, you're gone, mate. What? Why? Why would you do that? I did get that fixed. I did find the right settings, and I've used it since, and it works. As for sharing my location with the family, so we all share location, so you can see on Google Maps where we all are. I've got no chance of doing that with this. It just says, this can't share, and I try and fix it. It just kind of goes, no. So there's that. You can't change the stock launcher. So I don't know if actually I'll be able to find it real quick. Let's go into settings and let's search for default app. So you get to set some of them, but if I go, well, in fact, is it even there? No, I think, okay, let's look at messages though. So I've got Google's messages installed. You see, so that's the stock one, and I'm going to come out and I'll just show you. That's the Google's text messaging, but it doesn't even show up on the options for selecting a different message service. I think maybe if I type in default home, no, launcher. Oh, interesting. I thought I'd found the bit where you can set the launcher. Again, just ignored you. If you said use Nova launcher, it went, no, you're not having that. Why? Why would you do that? I'm told, or I've read, you can. So if you install Nova and then use ADB to uninstall the stock launcher, it will then just use Nova. So it can be done, but that's quite a lot of work, and that's, to be fair, you guys watching this video, you probably can use ADB. That's probably not that big of an issue, but that's why would you make it that hard? I don't get it. There are some useful features. So you've got three. Can we do it on this? So 3-finger swipe gives you the split screen, which I quite like actually. I can't change the. So that's quite cool. App cloner, so you can have basically kind of two installs of the same app. So if you've got Facebook where you want one account on one and a different account on another, you can do that. You can have auto turn off and turn on. So if you wanted your phone to shut down at midnight each night and turn back on again at 5 a.m, you can do that. I think that's actually quite a useful option. And I've mentioned this sort of quite interesting lock screens. So there's a few bits. There's quite a bit of customizability in there, and I can see how they think they're going the right way and giving the user loads of options, loads of choices. But there's just so many things that you can't change stock your launcher. I don't get why they would do that. It spoils what's some great hardware. Anyway, so let's move on from software to the battery, because this is another strong point. Now, in the documentation, or on GSM Arena perhaps, it says it's got 50 watts fast charging. This is the global version, so it came with a two-prong plug and an adapter, so I had to use that, and maybe that's the problem, but I'm not getting 50 watts fast charging. It says 30 minutes to charge from empty to full in 35 minutes. In 35 minutes, I charged maybe 30%, so I don't know, maybe, again, this is where someone that might have the European version can tell us, does it work? So I've got a battery test where I play one of my videos as a 37-minute long video, and then I've got an auto web page reloader, which kind of just keeps reloading my Twitter feed to get us to an hour mark. So the screen's been on for an hour, it's been doing stuff, playing videos, it's been loading web pages. This device set a new record with 98%. So an hour on, screen on for an hour, 90 hertz, well I guess probably playing the video it was 90 hertz, but regardless. Set to 300 lumens, so I have all devices always have 300 lumens. Only lost 2%. That's pretty epic, really. That is, I mean, the video finished after 37 minutes, and I tapped the screen to have a look at the battery. 100% still. That is amazing. Accu battery, which I use quite a lot these days, was telling me I could get 11 hours of constant screen on time from full to flatten the battery. Or if I left the screen off, I would go for 116 hours. 116 hours in a drawer. What is that? That's becoming more than 4 days. That's almost, I guess 120 hours is 5 days. So it's almost 5 days if you just left it in your drawer. Combined usage, so just generally my usage, screen on, screen off, screen on, 65 hours. That's almost 3 days. I mean, I would be, if I woke up on a Monday morning, I'll do Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday and put it on charge Wednesday night. That's pretty impressive. That really is. So if you're one of those that's maybe just a massively heavy user, this is something to consider. So the conclusion is the hardware does seem pretty good. The camera's good. The screen's great. The battery life is epic. The speakers are pretty loud. It feels well made. It does look very nice, I think. It could pass for a £700 device. I think you passed this to somebody and said, I paid 700 quid for that. They wouldn't be like, what? Okay. They would just accept it, I think. But it feels like the software is working against me. So I want my device to help me in my daily life. I think that's what Google kind of, their whole ambient computing is, that things are just going on and your device is helping you and you don't even realise almost. This thing seems to be working against me. I don't get it. The overly aggressive RAM management. You can't change some of the default apps. So even just when I'm using my devices, I'm doing my reviews, I've got a Google document which I'm making my notes in as I use them, and normally I can just say, yeah, add this to my home screen, and there's an icon then that I can just tap to open up my notes straight away. Couldn't do that, wouldn't let me do that. I forget exactly what the error message was. Just said, no, not having that. I was trying to install Geekbench 4 because it's now we've been upgraded to Geekbench 5. And I think I loaded it up with, I'd opened Solid Explorer, I'd downloaded the APK and I tapped on the APK and it said, no, you're not installing an APK from here. No, it's fine, I know what it, no. And it said something about registering, but then when I tried to register, it was only Hong Kong phone numbers that it would take, so I'm kind of stuck there. So I would love to hear, if you're a European user, got the European version, can you change some of that stuff? So I'm kind of toying with the idea of keeping the device and waiting for the European ROM to come, because I assume I can just flash the European ROM onto the device. And maybe that changes things. So again, I'd love to hear, please do put in the comments if you're a European, if you do a really good comment, explain all the different bits, I can pin it and everyone can see it. As it is, I don't think I can recommend this device. I mean, I've even almost wondered about just sending it back. It's going to cost me about £50 with admin fees and postage to send it back to Wonder Mobile. They've kind of all agreed on everything. Because I don't feel I can sell it on to somebody, because I think the software is that kind of bad. And the fact that you can now order a European version, which mightn't be as bad, I don't know. The other option, and this is weird, I don't ever normally say this in the videos, but if you wanted to buy this, for £370, I will ship it to you in the UK with recorded postage and then just have it. Because you're going to end up paying more than that if you're buying it yourself. And if you're happy flashing ROMs, then you can probably flash the European ROM when you get it. Anyway, so I just thought I'd throw that in there. Email me at mail@androidandy.uk if you wanted to buy it. All payments have been advanced and I'll send it. Anyway, it's not an advert, this video. So yeah, it's such a weird, I don't know, that's it. I think my conclusion would be I don't think I can recommend this device. It's kind of funny in that a lot of people ranted and raved about the Pixel 4 because it just doesn't have the specs. And I think a lot of Pixel 4 users, myself included, would be saying, yeah, but it's about the experience. The user experience is really good. And I think this device is kind of an advert for that, in that the specs of this thing are pretty amazing. It's got everything you would ask for: 40K, 60 frames per second, 90 Hertz, the 855 plus, 8 gig of RAM. It's got everything. But the experience of using it isn't that great, in my opinion. So I'm much happier on my Pixel 4. At the same time, if they can fix that, like I did hear, that they are thinking of kind of almost scrapping ColorOS and going stock. If they did that, whoa, that would be game changer. But that's probably just a rumour. Let me know if you've heard any different. So that's it really. I don't know. Those are my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. If you haven't subscribed, please make sure you do. Have a look at some of the other videos I've done on the channel. Let me know your thoughts on those as well. But for now, my name's Andy, and I'll catch you all again soon.